What does that mean?
Well, you're going to see it on supplements, right? You're going to see it on those peptide vials, those protein powders, mushrooms. The other thing is, so when we hear third-party tested, we're like, oh my gosh, it's safe, it's clean.
Oh, it's fine. It's been third-party tested, no problem.
So I want to dive into that because there are 4 levels of testing, and I don't think we understand that.
This is Keep It Clear, real conversations about skin, acne, and women's health without the overwhelm. Because you deserve answers that actually make sense. Today's episode starts now. Well, do we have an episode for you all today, everybody? This one is brought to you by Chris Brown. She was like, listen, I don't care what you want to talk about today. Throw it all out the window because I had a dream. I woke up at 3 a.m. and I wrote it all down, and this is what we're talking about. So I'm just here for the ride with you guys today. I even asked Chris, like, hey, well, like, we talk about third-party testing, all of this stuff, but let's write our outline. Let's write some talking points out. She's like, no, it's in my brain. So like I said, I'm here for the ride with you guys. So Chris, I'm going to let you start it off, and then I'm sure I'm going to chime in here because we want to go into third-party testing. We want to talk about supplements, FDA. We're even going to throw in some peptides. We're going to throw in some psilocybin talk. Like, we got a lot going on today. So I pass the baton.
Okay, well, and I kind of chuckle because I didn't have a dream. I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, that's what it was. And and I kind of chuckled at, 1:30 in the morning when I was doing my thing. And I was like, if people only knew how my brain worked.
Oh, I do. I'm very well versed. So here we are, everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
Yeah. And then I said to Katie, hey, I don't know what we're talking about today, but can we get a little spicy? And I think she probably thought one of our smut books, but I was like
I did immediately. I was like, oh yeah, no, we can talk about my book.
You're like, yeah, we can. No, I want to talk about third-party testing because I'm in this wellness world, and I have my feet in a bunch of different buckets, right?
I can't even keep count anymore.
So more and more keeps coming up about testing and things like peptides and mushrooms and FDA. And if I am not asked, I used to be asked about peptides once every couple months.
Daily.
Now, it for me, it's like every other day. I'm getting somebody peptides. And I'm like, and I got to be very careful. But
we'll do a peptide episode. I actually know a peptide expert that I'm going to bring on the show.
Yeah. And I mean, can they be great? 100%, right? It's not about that. But today, I want to talk about 3 little words. Because really, these show up everywhere. I was at a store and I saw them. Third-party tested. And
what does that mean?
Well, you're going to see it on supplements, right? You're going to see it on those peptide vials, those protein powders, mushrooms.
That I have just like sitting on my table here.
The other thing is, so when we hear third-party tested, we're like, oh my gosh, it's safe, it's clean.
Oh, it's fine. It's been third-party tested, no problem.
So I want to dive into that because there are 4 levels of testing. And I don't think we understand that, right?
Yeah, because the goal, right, is we want you to be able to understand truly not just what third-party testing is, but how to make sure you're it's not just a label that's thrown on there, that we actually know it's been properly third-party tested, that it's safe for you. Because in this health and wellness space where I think peptides is a really great example, they can be phenomenal. Like, there are some incredible uses. Like, here in Canada, the regulations are quite different than over in the States. Mm-hmm. But when we're injecting anything into our body, including peptides, we want to be making sure that we're using something clean. Just like a supplement that we're taking, a food that we're eating, we need to be making sure that what we're eating has been properly tested.
Yeah. The best part about this is I don't want to go into fear-mongering, right? That's not what I'm about. It's once you know them, you can start to even hear a company's marketing and immediately place them in the hierarchy that, like, I'll explain. So really, it's going through the 4, and then as you start to read or understand, this is about education. So here's the levels. I'll just call them levels, right? So level 1, in-house testing. So the company's going to test its own product in its own lab with its own people. No outside eyes. So yeah, nobody's surprised when that product passes. Yay.
Oh my goodness. Yay. It's great.
It's like a restaurant. It's like a restaurant completing their own health inspection. We passed. We're great, right?
Yeah, no, we're good.
No, that's not rabbit poop. That's just sprinkles. There's no requirements here beyond what the company decides to do. So that's like ground floor, fair? Then we go to the next level. So this is where third-party testing comes in. This is the phase that really almost every bottle claims, So what's actually in it means that, here's what's happened. So this company's paid an outside lab to test their product. We like this. This is good.
Yeah, that's good.
Right?
We like that.
However, that's it. It's done. So the company chooses a lab. The company chooses a scope, meaning what gets tested for. The company chooses which batch gets tested. And the company can see the results before anybody else. So if the company decides that that information that came back wasn't favorable, they don't have to publish it. They can just keep retesting till, hey, I like this. Let's publish this, right? So they don't have to tell us how many times they've run the test. We only know what gets published. So if they want to try a different batch, that's up to them. There's no requirements to disclose failed tests. There's no requirements to test for heavy metals, microbials, residual solvents, anything specific. And I mean, last night when I was going through this, I was trying to find it, right? So essentially the company's going to pick that scope. So when you see third-party testing with no other detail, I really want you to actually begin to think, outside lab looked at something when they were asked to look at, what they were asked to look at, the batch was picked for them, and hey, the company liked the results, so here we are.
Boom.
Right? So I want to talk about the peptide in here. This is kind of how it works.
Because peptides have blown up. I think unless you've been living under a rock in the health and wellness world, you've probably heard of peptides.
Can confirm, everybody, this is the next billion-dollar industry.
This is the next, trillion-dollar industry. I'm like, Chris, how do we get into the peptide industry?
It legit,
Should we
work
make
with
our own peptide company?
Stop. I work with companies. Somebody came to them and said, hey, by the way, we need some testing. And I said to them, jump on this. And they're like, what? I'm like, jump on this. Right? So, because of that. So a peptide company, this is how it goes. It sends a sample to the lab, right? They ask for purity. That's what basically they do. So the lab's going to confirm, say 99.5% is pure. Done. Now, did anyone test for mercury, lead, arsenic? No.
Heavy metals.
I don't want to have to burst everybody's peptide bubble, but
Heavy metals.
we want those tested.
Yep.
So, and again, remember I was saying those residual solvents from the synthetic process? Peptides. What's synthetic, right? So they weren't testing those residual solvents. Maybe endotoxins. This is really going to matter a lot if you're injecting it. Nope,
Yep.
Not tested. So none of those things because nobody asked. The test was definitely legitimate. And why? It's third party. It tells you nothing about whether the product is safe. The other 0.5% could be pure or it could be heavy metals. We really don't know. So the certificate doesn't say that. And so that's what actually level 2 is with third-party testing. So just remember that. Then level 3, we're getting warmer. We're getting warmer, right? Blind third-party testing.
Ooh, we love a blind third-party test.
Right? However, remember that whole 3 blind mice?
Yes.
Ah.
Oh, yeah. Chris and I like to say me, her, and Paige are the 3 blind mice.
Right. So it's kind of
The blind leading the blind.
Think about that. Exactly, right? So the sample arrives at the lab without a brand on it. The lab doesn't know whose product it is. This removes
No
one layer of
bias.
that bias, right? We love that.
Yeah, love and unbiased.
Because the lab can't consciously or unconsciously give a paying client a softer read. It doesn't know. So the requirements here are stricter. The sample needs to be relabeled or coded before it ever reaches the lab. Mm-hmm. So the chain of custody really has to be documented. We like that documentation. We like that trail. So this is better. Still rare. Most companies don't do it because they don't have to. And then we get to level 4. This is a little bit more of where the sexy happens, right? So independent third-party testing. Now we get to 4 words. So we see how we're going to see the difference between 3 words and 4 words is quite grand. Mm-hmm. So this is what most consumers think they're getting, when we see that third-party testing. I mean, I've been guilty of it. And I've had to kind of go back and double check, right? Mm-hmm. This is almost never, ever, ever happening. So independent means somebody outside the company commissions the test entirely. So what do we call them? Like the watchdog group, journalists, consumer protection organizations. What about even the buyer? Right? Like me sending something. Mm-hmm. So the company doesn't pick the lab. The company doesn't pick the scope. The company doesn't see the results before they're published. Ooh, that's dicey. Who wants to do that? And the company doesn't know the test is happening until the report drops. So you and I, we belong to ConsumerLab, right? So organizations like ConsumerLab, Labdoor, what's the other one? Clean Label Project. There's also certifications. So we see like little labels that says NSF certified for sports or USP verified. And the actually inspection, that's from the manufacturing facility that tested the products against the published standards they set. So that's a level 4. See the difference? Not little. So now somebody still picks up what they get tested for, even at level 4, right? The difference is who picks. When a watchdog picks, they're trying to find the problems because finding problems is their entire value proposition. They're like, let's look for something. And we get that with the consumer labs, right? We've seen what? Lead in flax seeds. We've seen protein powders with heavy metals. And what do? As soon as we get these, we go and we discern it through all our publications and make sure that something hasn't changed, right? That's what we call being on top of things.
Yeah, we love an independent third-party test.
So because someone's trying to find the problem, right? So when a company picks, they're trying to find nothing, because nothing protects their sales. So the scope still exists. The incentive flips. That's the whole game.
So the next question that everybody listening has is, well, Chris, how do I know which level of testing is on the products that I'm using?
Ooh, love. We're going to always go with level 2. Because anybody that's doing blind or independent will boast about it on their product, I guarantee. Right? So, and they'll even name the lab. They want to show the certificate of analysis, the lot numbers that matches the bottle. They can tell you exactly what's been tested. This is like the Cadillac. But again, third-party testing, because those words, adding the independent, dropping the independent, do you see how convoluted it gets?
Very convoluted.
So that's kind of... So one of the questions, how I even got here, was I was like, why is this system allowed?
It's crazy. And if you want to think like, oh, this is just in the supplement world. No. The way I actually got into the health and wellness space was through the ingredients in my skincare and beauty products when I was like 20 years old.
Yeah, unfortunately, guess what? That's still not fully regulated.
I think still not fully regulated.
I think the regulation came out in 2022, the cosmetic one, but still not fully and I'm going on the research I did at 3:00 in the morning fair.
It's actually insane is once you go down this rabbit hole, it's something that you can't unlearn and you can't unsee. And then you really go down in the rabbit hole. So like I've been like in this space since I was 20. So what year was that? 2000, I don't know, 19, 20, no, 2009. 2000, I was like, wow, look at me.
Just see how I'm just letting you go through that?
2009 is what I meant to say. And I remember sitting there on my bedroom floor turning over every single beauty. And like I had a 6-foot-long IKEA table, okay? Like let's just be real. And I was shocked and appalled how every single product in there had multiple different hormone disrupting and cancer causing ingredients. And I was like, how is this? I remember being so irate, like how is this allowed? Like how are manufacturers knowingly putting this, not just on things that people are applying, but even children? Mm-hmm. Like that's a whole nother situation is the ingredients they're putting in kids' products. And remember, kids are a lot smaller, so the impact is much greater.
100%. And then, my brain goes, so why does any of this matter? And why isn't the regulatory boards catching this, right? Because, anybody that knows me, my brain works in questions.
It's wild in there, you guys.
Yeah, I was sitting on a information session for medicinal mushrooms. And I said to the clinician holding it, like I was texting her because I know her. And she goes, why didn't you ask all these questions? I said, because it's going to be combative. And I said, it was an amazing presentation. It was well done. I didn't want to, and they were independent, third-party tested, right? So I didn't want to pull away from that, but I had so many questions. Like, when they're saying, hey, you take reishi for this. And I'm like, yeah, well, it also drops your testosterone. And you take chaga for this. I said, yes, but it also increases your white blood count. Do you know what I mean? Like, so this is what I'm saying. Anyways, I'm not going to go into it now, but this is why my brain is. So going back to this is where I want to bring in the FDA.
She's going there.
I'm going.
She's going to go ahead.
And I want to be very careful because I am not anti-FDA.
Yeah, I don't want to get us canceled over here.
I'm saying
I'm worried about
the FDA is one data point. It's not the gold standard most people treat it as. I'm going to explain why. And it's okay if you disagree with me. I'm totally cool with that.
Can I just put something in here that it is okay to disagree with somebody and not want to cancel them?
Yeah.
Isn't that a wild notion?
And it's okay to disagree. However, here's the thing. When I totally disagree with something, I'm like, before I open my mouth, let me validate that. So if I ever make a bet with you, I'm going to urge everybody now, don't accept it. I tell my kids all this time because I've done the work. So let's talk about the FDA. 1994, there was a law passed. I always remember as DHEA. It's not, there's an S. DSHEA. So it's the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Acts. So supplements got reclassified and they were in the category now of food. This means that the FDA does not approve supplements before they go on the market. The company decides their product is safe, puts it on the shelf. FDA only gets involved if something goes wrong afterwards. So it's reactive, not proactive. And hey, I'm a holistic nutritionist. I love supplements. But please, I want you to get them from proper dispensaries and proper sources, people with accreditations to do so, right? This is a big deal because even the FDA's own director of that dietary supplement program, I don't know if she's still active, but her name was Kara Welsh, doctor. So we got to put the doctor in there. She even publicly stated that the FDA inspects 5% of supplement facilities each year. 5%. So what's that? 500 to 600 inspections out of 10,000 registered facilities. Registered. So her words, and I'm going to quote, tapped out. So that means 95% of supplement manufacturing facilities in the country go uninspected in any given year. So the FDA is not watching. They've said so out loud. Like, I'm not making words up. You can go, this is all validated, right? So it's not to get scared about the supplements. There's good quality, right? This isn't just a resource problem. It's a track record in its own story. So the FDA approved OxyContin in 1995. Was there great evidence? No, it was very weak evidence that said, hey, if we do it in a delayed release form, people are going to be less prone to abuse it because it's highly addictive, right? So, and I don't know if we all seen them. It was at Netflix, I think, that had the movie on it. So the reviewer of the FDA that handled it, Curtis Wright, he left the FDA and went to work for Purdue. So Purdue pled guilty, federal criminal charges, 2007, pled guilty again, 2020. Like, what is happening, people? 2020 again? And we're still living through this opioid crisis. The FDA approved that drug. So when you see what I mean about gold standard? So have you heard of Vioxx? So in 1999.
She's going for it today, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to be quite serious that I have pulled stats because this isn't a poo-poo on the FDA. Remember, I've talked about supplements too, right?
Yeah.
So in 1999, it was approved. Mm-hmm. Pulled in 2004, linked to an estimated, you're sitting, 88 to 140,000 cases of serious heart disease. And that's just in the United States stats. So the FDA scientist, Dr. Graham, he testified to the U.S. Senate in 2024 that the FDA was incapable of protecting America from another Vioxx. So that company,
terrifying.
yeah, but they knew. So if companies know the FDA is tapped out, do you see how long things can go before they're controlled?
Years and years and years and cause an insane amount of damage.
Yeah. So that company, I think it was called Merck, paid approximately $4.85 billion in settlements.
Yeah, they proposed a $4.85 billion settlement.
So food dyes, banned across the European Union, right? Legal.
It looks like we're finally I think we're finally going to get them banned.
Well, probably in the States before Canada, right? Because they have an advocacy right now. They have somebody in high power that's like, hey, so congratulations, Kennedy. I love your work. Keep going, right? But the FDA approved like so many different things. So different jurisdictions look at the same evidence, just really research at different conclusions. So all I'm saying is when you see FDA approved, it's not the end of the conversation.
I know, because I've seen that a lot in the peptide world. Actually, I've done a few rabbit hole deep dives on peptides. And the main argument that those that are anti-peptides have are like, well, they're not FDA approved. They're not FDA approved. They're not FDA approved. And I want a couple things is, well, one, doesn't have to be the gold standard, but like tattoo ink isn't FDA approved. Majority of supplements not FDA approved. Makeup and cosmetics, all of these things are not FDA approved. So to just be like, oh, like poo-poo on something that can have really great impacts just because it's not FDA approved is kind of backwards thinking. But that's not to say we don't want to make sure that they have proper third-party testing for purity.
Exactly. And I understand that people are listening. They're like, oh my gosh, this might be a lot of stats, a lot of dates, whatever. I'm giving you this information because it's public record. And I want you to look it up, right? Here's what I want you to pay real close attention to, though. When you hear about a pharmaceutical company paying $1 billion fine, your brain wants to call it a deterrent. It's not. The math is now public, right? So I want to kind of walk through, again, it carefully, because the difference between
She's on one
revenue
today,
and profit matters here. No, because I want to say this, look, this is the industry we're working in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't say a certain V word
or else we're out of here.
or we're out of here. But a doctor can misdiagnose cancer and a patient die. And it was like, oops, sorry.
Oopsie.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it does.
It's one of the leading causes of death in North America is medical error.
Yeah. So do I get a little pissed? Yeah. Do I wake up at 3 o'clock? Yeah. Do I say, hey, Katie, let's get spicy? Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm in my
she
spicy era.
She is, everybody. Watch out.
So interesting, most recent. So March 2026, there's a study published in, published in, I call it JAMA, but it's not. It's like JAMA. I don't even know if it's called JAMA. Network. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. It's peer reviewed.
She calls it JAMA.
Yeah. Mainstream medicine journal, right? Research looked at 25 years of pharmaceutical kickback cases where drug companies paid doctors illegally to prescribe their medications or caused Medicare and Medicaid overpayments. So between 2000 and 2025, they identified 64 settlements. For 46 of them had to complete data on both the penalties and the revenue made from the drugs involved. So that's good. Those are stats, right? Mm-hmm. But here's some like verified numbers. Penalties, they totaled $10.25 billion. U.S. revenue from those same drugs totaled $458.6 billion. So the penalties came out of a median, of 2.2% of revenue.
They're like, yeah, here you go, bye.
2.2%.
Take and go.
So I want to be honest about what we know and what we're estimating. Revenue is not profit, right? Revenue is gross sales. This is like my business hat. So profit is what's left after expenses. So the JAMA study measured the penalties against revenue, not profit. So whatever. That was flagged, limitations of their own paper, whatever. So again, the percentage to actual profit, we can definitely estimate. But at the end of the day, 2.2%? Come on.
I know.
2000, again, to 2018, there was a large pharmaceutical companies, again, net profit margin about 14% compared to 8%, blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on and on. I won't bore you. But just to say that if we take the most conservative estimate, 14%, the 458.6 billion in revenue from those drugs, who's winning? So by the time the FDA catches up, and whether they plead guilty or no contest or whatever, what happens? This is no different than General Mills, everybody. Go see how many times they've been sued and paid.
This is a big rabbit hole, you guys. Prepare to have your life altered.
So there was a Harvard Medical School professor, Eric Campbell. He researches conflict of interest in medicine. And yeah, he said, like, this is his quote. This is the financial reward companies, they reap from engaging in these behaviors. They far outstrip any penalties they pay. So what does that tell us?
They're just going to keep doing it because they can get away with it.
Yeah. So when a fine is somewhere between 2 cents on a revenue dollar to 16 cents on an estimate profit dollar, that's not a deterrent. That's a budget line. That's a company running the math, looking at the expected fine versus the expected profit.
It's just an expense for them.
And decided that the misconduct's worth it. And FYI, they have divisions for this in large companies.
You want to know what's crazy to me? Is I couldn't imagine like being a human being and being okay and being able to sleep at night knowing you're doing that to hundreds of thousands or millions of people around your country or world.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, like how do you sleep at night?
But here's the thing. The code of ethics doesn't apply here, does it? So
this is a whole nother episode.
I know. So let's talk about mushrooms.
Okay, yeah, because we got a little bit of time left. Let's do psilocybin.
Okay.
So, wait, are we talking mushrooms or psilocybin? We see how I jumped to psilocybin automatically.
I know, you're like in it.
Is that my millennial brain?
No, I'm talking about functional mushrooms. Lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, chaga, turkey tail.
You know, my millennial brain automatically jumps to like, oh yeah, she's talking about psilocybin. Let's go there.
No, I mean, totally cool. If you want a trip, you go for it. They're in coffee, capsule, tincture. They're everywhere now, right?
You can go to, I'm sure you can go to Airwani and get them added.
Yeah. So a real mushroom really has two parts. It has the fruiting body, the actual mushroom we recognize, and not the psychedelic.
Not the psychedelic.
But the mycelium. So that's the underground root network. So the fruit body is where the active compounds concentrate, the beta glucans, the terpenes, it's the triterpenes. Anyways, see what happens when I stop. So anyways, it's a species-specific bioactives that make these mushrooms medicinal. And we use them in traditional medicine, right? For thousands of years, we used to steep them. They have to have hot water. They have to have compounds. So they do have to have an extraction process. Mm-hmm. However, in this huge industry, companies are growing mycelium on substrate of grains. So rice, oats, barley, sorghum. So what happens is the mycelium spreads to the grain. It seals in the bag before the real mushroom ever forms. So the company that harvests the whole block, that mycelium plus the grain grinds all up together and they sell the mushroom as a powder.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, so the numbers tell the story. So real medicinal mushrooms contain about 30, say, to 45% beta glucans. So the mycelium they grow on the grain that typically, ready, contains 5 to 7%, sometimes even 0. Why? Because everybody, newsflash, real mushrooms don't contain starch. They store energy as glycogen. So mycelium on grain, so they're called MOG. And so watch that acronym, even on a bottle. A MOG product contains 35 to 40% starch because the grain, right, that ground, it's ground up with it. So even there's been peer reviews, and once they even found that MOG, that mushroom supplement, with as little as 1 to 5% of the beta glucan, and 30 to 40%, again, that starch. So this is where I'm getting it from, right? So there's been other reviews of the chaga events, testing methods, like all of these fingerprints. At the end of the day, there's no FDA rule that forces companies to disclose this. The number one most profitable, and I'll let you do the research on who that is, most profitable company for mushrooms.
Oh, I already know.
It's grained. It's a MOG.
This is new info to me. I didn't know about that tidbit of little info.
It's a MOG. There's the three top, and you can call the company And they'll even say, yeah, it's great. It's this, it's that. Mm-mm. So, you know, people can put lion mane mushroom on a label and ship you a bottle of mostly oat starch.
And how much are you paying for that?
And sometimes they don't disclose the starch. So what if you have an intolerance? However, I'm just letting you know this is all legal. So I want you to start looking for the words fruity body on the label. If it says mycelium or myceliate grain or MOG, no. It's not going to happen. So before I close out, I cannot do this justice. I'm sorry if I'm going over time, but I have to breathe through it. Ready? I'm sorry, Katie, but I have to talk about Amazon.
Okay. Well, she's saying this because she knows and Chris doesn't have an Amazon account, so much so that she'll text me on the week and be like, hey, we should log into Amazon again. I need your Prime. Because she doesn't have her Prime account. She knows I do.
Well, by the way, don't even get me started on
why don't you have my login saved is what I want to know. Just save it in your phone.
Amazon. But whatever.
Okay, I'll let you. I know where you're going to go with this.
Okay, brands have been caught up in this. So the USP Labs, who made a workout supplement. Did you ever hear one called Jacked? It was Jacked with with a 3 instead of an ED.
No.
Okay. Anyways, the owner and 4 executives, they pled guilty in federal court. So what happened is they imported a synthetic stimulant called DMAA from a Chinese chemical lab, or a company, I should say. I shouldn't say lab. And really, they instructed. Remember, China doesn't have the same regulations. This is why import and export happens a lot. I'll just leave it out there. So this is why Chris doesn't sleep at night. So anyways, they instructed Chinese companies to create fake certificates of an analysis, labeling it as geranium flower powder. So that's a natural plant extract, right? Allegedly. So the Department of Justice really said, nope, because there was one email, and this is what this is what makes it spicy book for me, right? One of the principal owners to another one, and I'm quoting through an email, it said, LOL, stuff is completely 100% synthetic. However, here's the catch. That product sold for nearly a decade, and people died. So Pro Supplements in 2022 was sued because their BCAA product was labeled 0 gram of carbohydrates. And guess what? Well, should we have carbohydrates in BCAAs? No, because they're amino acids, right?
Yeah, absolutely not.
So they had 5 grams per serving of carbs. So a lot of this just kind of comes in, right? So reasonable, profitable of serious adverse health consequences, death. Half of the worst recalls in the window are, can be supplements too. So don't get me wrong, not just pharmaceuticals, okay? But there is a distributor called Amazon. I don't know if anyone's heard about them.
Anybody ever heard of them?
Right. So Amazon uses this thing called, don't let me butcher this. It's like Cumming-led inventory. COMMINGLED, Cumming-led.
No idea.
Well,
not
you're
my
a journalist.
I just order the things and ship
okay.
it to
So
my
this
house.
is what I learned. Are you ready? This is sexy. I knew the other cool front, but I didn't know they had this inventory system. So when you order a supplement from a brand's official Amazon store, Amazon doesn't necessarily ship you that brand's actual unit. They ship you whichever unit is closest in the warehouse because they pool products from multiple sellers, including counterfeits, into the same bins. So even products listed as sold by Amazon can be counterfeit. So in 2024, Amazon seized over 15 million counterfeit, I didn't try words, products globally. What? Now we're getting spicy, right?
OMG. So I obviously know not to buy supplements on Amazon. It's not ideal. There's only really been a handful of times where I've ever done that or recommended it to a client unless we're in a dire situation, need it tomorrow.
I'm dead set against this. You know how I feel. But this is
I know
why.
how you feel.
So we know the brand Now. It has an orange label, right? Now Foods. Super large supplement brand, completely right across North America. They have been testing Amazon products for years. So in 2023, they reported 11 different counterfeit impersonations of their products. The only variation was a slight degree of the orange in the branding color. So, ready for this? Some capsules tested as nothing but white flour. Some tested positive for it's an active ingredient in Viagra.
Yep.
Curcumin products tested with heavy metals over California's Proposition 60.
Prop 6.
Yeah. Okay. Fungi found 23 Amazon sellers selling counterfeit versions of their mushroom products late 2025, so just recent, right? Organizations called Supply Co. tested 44 Amazon supplements. Every single supplement from an overseas registered seller failed.
Oh my goodness.
17 out of 22 failures shared identical images or descriptions with bulk wholesale listings.
Well,
And it's called Alibaba.
oh yeah, we're very familiar.
So an American-sounding brand can be a very one-person operations selling. So that's like a Chinese bulk product, no testing, no resources, just remember, right? And in 2025, Amazon was sued in a proposed class action over rice. So it's just scary, and it's not to poo-poo on Amazon. This is consumer awareness. This is what we should be taught. So I just want to bring it back home.
Now everybody listening is like, well, gonna have to shut down my Amazon account.
How many people are going like, Chris, text me at 3:00 when you get these ideas?
Or like, you know what? Don't text me. Ignorance is bliss.
This is what I can't undo now. This is why I can't, when my husband's like, oh, well, I'm just going to get conventional everything because Driscoll's, don't even get me started. Did you hear about the Driscoll's organic strawberry fiasco? Can't even go there. Anyways, long story short, level 1, in-house testing. The company's testing itself. Believe nothing. Level 2, third-party tested. This is the most widely used. This is probably what you're seeing. The company paid an outside lab. The company chose what test, what batch. They controlled it, right? You don't know the lab. You don't know the scope. You don't know whether you failed or got tested or buried. So this floor of what really is like that marketing tested. Useful only if backed by full disclosure, right? Level 3, we got the 3 blind mice. So the lab didn't know whose sample it was. Better, still controlled by the company. And then level 4, that's where we get the vigilance kind of happening, right? Somebody outside commissioned it to be reviewed, certifications, like I talked about. So here is what to demand from now on. It's kind of what I'm saying, because we're consumers. We can demand. You know how we demand?
We can demand, and that's how we make change.
Yeah, we put what we're buying. So we can ask which lab, we can ask what it's tested for, we can ask the batch, we can ask the certifications, we can look for certifications, right? We can look for the words fruity body. We can look for the peptides and the heavy metals. If this industry is going to blow up, know what you're putting in your body. Please, it's your temple. The wellness industry is not the enemy. Conventional medicine is not the enemy.
That hurt her to say.
The enemy is often, if there is even one, let's say, it's the system is designed to make us trust a label without asking what's behind it. We're taught that we're silenced, even as children, right? So both spaces have companies operating with integrity, both companies cutting corners. Our job, my job, everyone's job is just to know the difference. You don't have to be afraid of it. You have to be awakened. So if you're going to pick a bottle and it says third-party tested, are you going to say, what was Chris rambling about again?
I got to go back and listen to that episode.
So thanks for letting me just carry that, because I was like spit to be fired on that.
I didn't even need to be here today, to be honest. Like I said, I'm just along for the ride today, everybody.
That's kind of like when you talk about the birth control.
And you want to know what? When I came in this morning, I was like, can we talk about medications and acne? And Chris was like, no, we're going to talk about this. So that's another episode here at Keep It Clear, everybody. If you ever have an episode idea, send me a DM. We're more than happy to break it down, full episode. And with that, we will see you next week here on Keep It Clear.